I have just got back from the opera. I've never been to the opera before, and I took Amber. It was for a campaign, so I've got loads of content I need to edit up and send to the brand to make sure they're happy with it, and then that will go live today. I've also got the window open, so you might be able to hear the motorbikes going past outside. I live very close to a high street, and there's just about every single takeaway you could imagine, like there, literally there. It's like takeaway after takeaway after takeaway where I live, and so there are often a lot of motorbikes driving around delivering takeaways all through the day. I am making this video a bit off the cuff. I've got a list of questions that people asked me on my last Q&A on my Instagram, and I answered the majority of them, but I thought it would be nice just to take my time, sit down, give you a little bit more context, a bit more depth behind my answers, because obviously on stories on Instagram you can only say so much. It's Sunday today. I'm filming this shortly before you're seeing this. I'm really trying to be consistent, but I haven't had the time to film a YouTube video this week, and so I thought this was the quickest and easiest way of getting something up. I'm also not planning on editing this, so unless anything absolutely drastic happens, you will just see my conscious stream of thought for the next 40 minutes. So please bear with me. And usually when I'm editing, the vast majority of the things that I edit out is my ums. So I'm going to try really hard not to say them, but yeah, I'm sorry if I do. For anyone who hasn't seen me before, I am Yasmine. I'm a single working mum from London, although weirdly there are people coming for me online at the moment saying that I should not be identifying as a single mum, which I find very strange. I have been a single mum for 6 years. I've got 2 children. They were like 6 and 4 when me and their dad split up, and they've lived with me the entire time. The most he's ever seen them is every other weekend, and there has been long periods of time where he hasn't had any contact with them at all. So if I'm not a single mum, I don't know what is. But yeah, so I'm a single mum from London. I am working to pay off £48,000 worth of debt. I share my money journey online. The reason I share it is mainly because I just think that money shouldn't be such a taboo. I want particularly women and people from less privileged backgrounds to know that wanting more, asking for pay rises, going for promotions, whatever it is that you do to make your money, you shouldn't feel ashamed to want more. That's my gut feeling of when I think about why do I actually share my money journey. Then obviously aside from that, it keeps me accountable, and there's some interesting conversations that come up as a result of it. I have always been a really candidly open person online. I shared my breakup story and journey. I shared quite a lot about the split with the children's dad, because that was unfortunately not a very nice situation, and there was domestic abuse involved. So I know that when I share something online, I feel better for having vocalized it, and obviously inevitably get so much support from people who are watching. But I know that people listen to my stories and the things that I share about my life and resonate or relate, and I know for a fact that people are out of debt because I shared being in debt and made it not such a taboo. And I know for a fact that people have left abusive relationships because they've realised that they will be okay if they do. Now, it isn't that simple. People don't just get out of that debt that easily, and people don't just get out of abusive relationships that easily, but I'm happy to share and be open about my journey, and if that helps one person, which I already know it has, but I hope it continues to help more, then it is absolutely worth it. So yeah, I was a full-time content creator for the last 2 years. I went back to a full-time job in January, and prior to that, I think I started my social media journey in 2018 and was mostly blogging and writing reviews about things to do in London with kids, because obviously my kids were quite a lot younger back then, and that's just sort of evolved over time, and then got me to the place here where I'm talking about still my life, my busy juggling being a working single mum, and my money journey. But I do also share on TikTok and on Instagram stuff that I buy. As you can see, I love colour, so there is sometimes my clothing or my outfits or decor and stuff like that. I will link all of my different socials below if you haven't come across me before, and you can go and see the different parts of my life that I share all over the internet. But anyway, let's get into the questions. I've got this little list in front of me and I'm going to just go through them. Hopefully you'll find it interesting. So the first question is, how is it back being at work? Or how is it, I've written that down wrong. How is it being back at work? I absolutely love my new job. Absolutely love it. So I'm a project manager. I've been a project manager for years. I've always worked in retail and with brands, and I am still working for a brand. And I don't share online just because it's not worth it. There are people online that like to be far too involved and interested in people's lives that they say they don't like. So I don't share the company I work for, but yes, I was looking for a job for about 6 months, and I started before Christmas last year, from about September, and it just tipped into the new year, and all of a sudden I was getting tons and tons of interviews. So I actually got to the point where I was really fortunate to have options and choices, whereas I was really getting scared. For anyone who followed me on TikTok, like my followers actually all, loads of them donated £1, £2, £3, which is obviously incredibly controversial. I wasn't actively trying for that to happen, but I was in such a state in December. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I've never really done like subscriptions, or I've never really taken money from my audience in any way, really. I've always just tried to create my revenue from social media by ad revenue and by working with brands, whereas obviously lots of creators do like subscriptions and buy me a coffee and all of those kinds of things, and I've never really done those. So when it came to being in an absolute dire situation, I honestly, it was just so sweet of everybody to just chip in £1, £2 or £3. Some people did put more in, and it got me through that really dark time. And I was so fortunate to get into the new year and then find a job. And so now I've been able to keep myself like going. But yeah, I think at that point, and how desperate I was to find a job, and the right job, I say desperate for a job, I wasn't applying for any job. I was applying for any project manager job that I thought I could do. But obviously I could have, I don't know, there's other jobs that I could have gone and done. But the problem is that my expenses are so high that if I just went and got a job like in a local shop or something, being there and working for the day wouldn't be enough to cover how much it costs me to be there, because I've had childcare to think about, dog care to think about. So it was just, I had to find a job that paid enough that I could actually cover my bills. And it was getting a bit touch and go, and I was really worried. But then to think that just literally came into the new year, and like 2 weeks later, landed the most amazing job. I am so happy. I love it. I am struggling with being full-time working, trying to maintain my social medias and all of that, because I still need to do this work to make extra money to be able to pay off the debt that I accumulated in 2023 while I wasn't earning enough. So I've got myself under a lot of pressure balancing it all. What I would say is that my day job is so busy at the moment, but they actually have seen that they've allowed me to employ a junior project manager to work with me. So once that person is in place, I will literally give a third of my work over to them. So that just sort of shows how much work I'm doing at the moment. I think often you're doing more than your job, but I am literally outputting 2 people's work, and I'm exhausted. And I think that my day job spilling into my free time has never really happened in this way before, to this degree. I've had to work weekends, and it's just one of those things that's it's quite a busy company with lots going on, and I'm happy to do it because I'm grateful to be in the position to work there. It's a really great place to work, and I know that they care about me and don't want me to break and stuff. So that is why I've got someone starting. But it was just like the next couple of weeks until they start, it's been a lot. So I've never really had that knock-on effect into my day, into my everyday, like where I then struggle to find the time for the kids, for cooking, for staying on top of the house. So I am definitely like very, very exhausted. My health is declining. So I'm not drinking enough water. I'm not taking my vitamins. I'm forgetting to take my meds on time. So that all escalates when I'm not, I start to not look after myself when I'm this busy with work. So I'm really conscious of that, and I'm really trying to pull that back. So I'm struggling with it at the moment. I think as well, just being neurodivergent, being a single parent, like it's just a lot. So yeah, I'm struggling, but I am so happy to have that job, and I can't wait until things are a little bit more balanced out. And I know that is coming. So it's kind of, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's given me security, peace of mind. I feel so much better knowing that I'm getting a salary. I really was driving myself insane, worrying about money after that really difficult 2 years of freelance work. So yeah, I'm really, really happy. It's difficult. I don't think it will ever be easy, particularly difficult at the moment because I've got so much going on. And obviously, inevitably, my social media has picked up since I've been back at work. And I think that's just because I'm genuinely happier. I'm genuinely in a better place, and brands find that more attractive and want to work with me. Whereas I was like severely unwell and depressed towards the end of the last year. So there's just a lot on, but it's good. I'm enjoying it. I'm going to keep going, and it will all smooth out soon. So hopefully that answers that one. Someone said, what's my long-term money plan? So 48-ish thousand pounds worth of debt at the moment. I think the peak was 54k. So it is coming down slowly but surely. I started my job in January, and that covers my bills and gets me comfortable. Like I can put some money aside for Christmas, I can pay for the dentist, I can do all these other bits and pieces. I did have to pay for Sid's operation, which was like almost $1,000. So I don't feel like I've quite got to the point where I've had a clean month of just right, everything's normal and this is my money. So I don't feel like I've made any headway. I certainly haven't made any extra payments towards my debt. And even though I'm doing extra work for my social media and making a bit more money there, that takes a while for the invoices to come through. And I also had to pay my corporation tax recently, which I didn't have the money set aside for, because last year when things got so bad, I had to use all of the money that I had set aside for my tax to live off of. So I'm still chasing my tail. Like my business had a bit of, not debt, but it was like, didn't have the cash flow to keep up. And so I haven't really been able to filter much money from my business into my life to be able to make overpayments on debt and stuff. That said, obviously I would like to clear the debt as soon as possible. I am thinking, actually just looked, the next question is how is the debt going? I am thinking that once I've done my 6-month probation at my role, I may, and I don't know whether I want to do this or not, but I might get a small add-on mortgage for the value of my debt and pay my debt off, because, and the reason I say this, and I know that people will say that's not paying your debt off, you're still going to owe the money, you're going to pay more interest overall, and I know all of that. But what I would say is, at the moment, my minimums are £1,800, and interest is going up, and that is increasing on a month-by-month basis. So £1,800 just as minimums to debt is a really big commitment. I have spoken to my mortgage advisor, and if I was to take out a £50,000, just rounding it up, £50,000 small add-on mortgage to the rest of my mortgage, which is £300,000, it would only cost me £200 a month, even on the higher interest rates that we're on at the moment. Did I say 200? £300 a month. My current mortgage is £1,000 a month. So it would be £1,300 a month to the mortgage. All of the debt would be gone. But the difference between having to pay back as a minimum £300 versus £1,800 is just, in my mind, absolutely huge. And whilst I know that longer term it will potentially cost me more, because that will be over 35 years and it will accumulate a lot of interest over time, that would not be my intention. I would like to give myself the breathing space to then be able to do what I want with my money. So I would absolutely be making overpayments on that and trying to clear that down as soon as possible. But it just means that if there's a month where something needs to happen, like Sid's operation. Sid needed his operation for months, but I couldn't afford to do it. It just means that for a few months I could plough money into my emergency fund, plough money into my savings, put money aside for Christmas, and just feel really comfortable while I'm paying the £300 off of the debt. And then once I'm in a good place and I've got kind of backup money, then I can go, right, now let's massively overpay the mortgage or the debt that I've moved on to the mortgage. It's something I want to do anyway. I've always said if I was debt free, I'd be wanting to pay off my mortgage as soon as possible. So yeah, I just think giving myself that little bit of freedom doesn't mean I'll necessarily pay any less off my debt. Maybe I'll still pay £1,800 every single month, but it just feels more comfortable knowing that if something went wrong, I would have a backup. Being a single parent relying purely on my money. And there is also, like, obviously I do get child maintenance at the moment, but there is some stuff going on which means I need to prepare for not getting that child maintenance. So yeah, I mean, maybe it will keep coming, but there's some stuff going on that makes me want to know that I can cope without it. So yeah, I've just got a lot of like long-term stuff that I'm thinking about, and I think that reducing my minimums from 1,800 to 300 is just the headspace that I need to be mentally well and not worry about money for the entirety of my children's childhood, which is something I really want to avoid. So that's that one. Someone else asked how dating is going. I am still dating the guy that I was most recently dating. He is a film director and producer. We are going to Cannes Film Festival in a few days' time. I will try and vlog it actually because I'm so excited. I've never been to the south of France. It looks stunning. I'm still getting to know him, I would say. He's a really, really lovely guy. He is very into me, I think. So I think it's all positive. There's nothing negative, but obviously there's just time that needs to pass for people to get to know each other. So yeah, I don't see him very often. He lives up near Oxford and I'm obviously in London, and we both have very busy lives. He runs a production company where he does music and production and for like brands and ads and things like that, video, and then he also is making this film that we're going to Cannes about. So yeah, we don't see each other very often. We talk to each other every day. He's really loving and supportive, like very, very kind. Yeah, just a really good egg from what I can tell so far. I've met some of his friends. He's very emotionally available, which was like a shock to me because I realised that even the guy that I was dating last year kind of said the things to imply that he was, but clearly he wasn't at all. So yeah, it's really good. I think I'm probably quite got a barrier up now, having had the negative experience that I had last year. Like I really enjoyed dating that guy, but last year, but what he did at the end, which for those of you who don't know, he literally just woke up one morning and was like, oh my God, I don't want to be in this relationship, and couldn't really explain it and gave me like 20 different reasons. But it really knocked me because just a week before he'd been saying that he was happy that I felt emotionally safe with him. Like, whoa. So I think that maybe that's made me have my guard up a little bit with this guy because I really like him. He's really great. There's no negatives at all, but emotionally I'm still quite reserved and wanting to get to know him. So, but that's not a bad thing, right? I have ADHD. Dating is not easy. If I am being reserved, that is only ever a good thing. So yeah, like I say, we're going to Cannes, so I will be holidaying with him. The kids have not met him, but they know about him. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. The next one was, will I move out of London? So having spent a little bit of time out in the countryside with this guy I'm dating, I am like yearning to be in the country. I absolutely love non-London life from what I can tell of it. I've never ever lived outside of Southeast London. I would love to move out of London. I love my day job, like I said before. So I'm not in a world where I think I'm going to be working fully remotely. I want to keep on to my day job. So I'd need to live somewhere where I could commute into London. At the moment, that would be 3 days a week. It might reduce because I'm struggling with 3 days with my ADHD and it being just a bit full on. I need time working from home to keep on top of stuff, but I'm just waiting to see how that all pans out. But I absolutely, wherever I live, would want to be able to commute into London a few days a week for my job because I do not want to leave this job. I love it. So it would need to be somewhere like that. I also would need to, I definitely don't want to sell this house. I kind of see this house as my kids' house now. I've clung on to it through thick and thin for so many years. I would rent it out and move out. I just think it's too risky being a Londoner, knowing what I would do elsewhere. So obviously I could convert the mortgage here into a rent mortgage and then I could use my salary to rent somewhere else or possibly even buy somewhere else. Obviously if it was a lot cheaper and I was out of debt. This is all very hypothetical. Callum is really enjoying his school. I already had to move him once secondary schools because the first one was awful. Amber is not at secondary school, but she will be going in a couple of years. So I'm always really considerate of like where they're at with their lives. But yeah, I do have a desire to not live in London forever, but I don't have a natural place to go because the majority of my family do live in London, and the ones who don't live in London are quite new to where they live too. So it's not like a kind of, there's no like history as to why they're in those towns or cities. So yeah, I would like to, I don't know where or when. So yeah, we'll just see. How do I keep up with everything? Not very well. I am constantly reprioritizing. I'm constantly putting things on the back burner that I want to get done. So Callum has a new bike that was given to him that is in my hallway. It's been there for about a month. It's really doing my head in. It's taking up the space. I've been meaning to empty out the shed in the front garden so that I can put the bike in there for that entire time, and I haven't got around to it. It's things like that that I don't get around to. I obviously prioritise my day job, and then I prioritise the kids and the house and the meal planning and meal prepping and all of that. And then I probably prioritise my other work, and then I probably prioritise myself at the end. So that does need to switch up a bit. Like I said before, my health is not as good as it has been. It's not terrible. Like, I'm not putting a ton of weight back on or anything, which is something I was worried about as well. I haven't been on Manjaro like for 3 months because I had I'm having a colonoscopy. They think I might have ulcerative colitis. And so I've just had a lot of health stuff going on. And in an ideal world, I'd be able to give myself the space to really like look after myself, but I haven't really been able to because I've been so busy. So yeah, I just constantly reprioritise. I use Google Calendar to remind me of everything that's happening. I use Notion for all of my tasks. I am going to make a video on some of that because some people keep asking about like how I set my calendar up and stuff. I just make a note of absolutely everything. I have 2 phones. Only one of them has a SIM. The other one's just a phone, but I always have a phone available to me. I make notes. I am always looking at my calendars, and to be honest, I feel like I'm not really doing anything that like I'm keeping on top of everything, but I'm not doing a really good job at anything at the moment. I certainly am feeling a lot of mum guilt having gone back to work and been so busy that my kids are very, very aware that I'm not around as much. But yeah, just lots of planning. I probably don't get enough sleep. I definitely wouldn't say anyone should look at me for a blueprint on how to be bossing like life because yes, I just about keep on top of everything, but it's hard, I'm tired, and it isn't ideal. So yeah, I wouldn't say that I'm like a good example. I certainly don't have a very good work-life balance, but that is something that I want to get. Like before the year is out, I want to feel like I've actually got a bit of balance, and I do think it's possible. But yeah, it's going to take some work. What did I do about the space in the house? So this was someone who probably follows me on Instagram, but this is a 2-bed house and the kids were sharing until Callum went to secondary school, and they weren't bothered, like they didn't mind sharing, but I didn't want them to share because I didn't want like Callum to be in an awkward situation at school if someone was like, can I come to your house? And then he was like, yeah, this is me and my sister's bedroom. Like, it's more about other kids bullying. Like, I had no issues, they had no issues, but anyway, I live in a Victorian house and the front room is knocked through to the what would have been like dining room, so I can't afford to like start putting walls back. I also don't really want to do that I also don't really want to do that as a long-term solution. So I basically just hung a big curtain in the between the 2 rooms. I got him a high bed so that it doesn't sort of feel like you're in his bedroom. He's got his privacy up high. And then underneath his bed, he's got a chest of drawers and a desk and all of his clothing and stuff like that. And I'm still finishing off the room. I've still got to decorate. But yeah, I think he's quite happy with it. He's got his own space. I'm going to put like a little sofa in there. I'm going to move the PlayStation in there because at the moment he kind of trickles over and like takes the entire front room. So I want to try and put his PlayStation and stuff in his room so that I can have my front room back. But yeah, he is happy with it. Amber is obviously happy to have her own room. It isn't ideal. I think the only time it's really made a difference is that I can't really have friends over in the evening because he's sleeping there and there isn't like a proper wall between us. But even if there was a proper wall, it would probably still be too noisy for us to like be up and having a drink or whatever. That said, if I really wanted to, he has always said he'd be more than happy to come and sleep up here, and then I could still do what I wanted to do downstairs. But I don't have friends around that often because I'm usually working in the evenings. But that's what I did about the space. Longer term, I don't know. It depends if we stay here or not. But I could do the loft. Lofts are okay to do on this street, but that would be 100k. I could put a like a bedroom in a sort of shed, like a studio at the bottom of the garden. That might work when he's a little bit older. Like if we're still here and he's 16, maybe he could live in a studio at the bottom of the garden. That would be a cheaper option than the loft. Also would love to do the side return downstairs and make that space bigger, which would be like another 60 or 70k. So basically need like 200k to fix the house up as to how I want it. But but yeah, we're fine for now. People, you know, I grew up in council housing with no carpet and horrible neighbours, and yeah, like this house is nice. It might be a little bit too small for us practically, but we're happy, and that's all that matters. Weight loss journey, stagnant, absolutely stagnant. Haven't lost any weight for ages. Haven't really put any on. Put a little bit on. Basically, like I alluded to earlier, I've had a lot of stomach issues, and I'm having a colonoscopy in a few weeks' time to see if I've got ulcerative colitis, which is in my family. So I've had a lot of stomach issues. So I stopped taking Manjaro just to like be able to say to the doctor, like, no, I'm not taking anything, because I didn't want to like overcomplicate stuff. Pretty sure it's nothing to do with that. I've got underlying stuff I always have had. But yeah, I came off it just to sort of clear the decks from like other potential complications. And I have just gone back onto it, but it's not really like working because I'm on a lower dose and I'm having to go back up again. So, I mean, it's not working, but it's just, I can't really feel the impact of it. But yeah, I'm back on. Oh, sorry, this is where I needed to be able to edit. I'm back on Manjaro now, so I hope to start losing weight again. But it's really great that when I have stopped in the past, it's a couple of times now, I've stopped for multiple months, I have not put the weight back on. So that's really, really good for me anyway. But yeah, I will be focusing on the weight loss journey again once I get back from Cannes. How did I get my ADHD diagnosis? So I actually got my ADHD diagnosis in 2018 or 2019, I think. Callum was presenting as an absolute wild child when he was a baby. He's so calm now, but he was incredibly challenging, but like in a lot of emotional ways. And so when we looked into it and the nurseries discussed it with us, there was a lot of flags there for like autism or ADHD. He to this day does not have a diagnosis. He's 12 years old, and even his primary school head teacher said, we all know that he's autistic, but it's not enough for us to be able to do anything about it. And I was like, great, I love that advocacy for my children. So a lot of my family are on the spectrum. I am definitely on this, like I knew I was on the spectrum. I knew I had dyslexia a lot before that. I knew I had dyspraxia. It all kind of unraveled bit by bit by bit. I had severe anxiety from as long as I can remember, like childhood. And then so when Callum was presenting with ADHD stuff, I just happened to stumble across like women with ADHD, which obviously there's so much more information now than there was in 2018. And I went to the doctor and said, look, this is me. And I was very fortunate that there wasn't as long waiting lists then as there is now. But yeah, I went through the NHS, had hours and hours of people like asking me questions, and I saw multiple different psychologists. When I had or psychiatrists, I don't know which one it is. When I had my assessment, they said that I am like almost certainly autistic as well. I don't have an official diagnosis as autistic, but recently I have started to identify as ADHD because there is no denying I'm autistic. And the longer I think about it, and the more I read about it, and the more I start to find coping mechanisms and the medication for my ADHD, my autism gets stronger and more to the forefront because my ADHD goes away, so then the autism comes out. So yeah, I do I do self-diagnose autism, so I say now I'm ADHD. Not that I need to go around telling people, but it is what it is. Because yeah, they said, you've also got all these markers. But we're not here for that today. We're only here for ADHD, so you've got to go back on the list. So I asked to go back on the list, and I haven't heard anything since. I mean, I did a couple of years ago, but like, this was a long time ago now. I don't know if I'm even on a list. I just don't know if I'll ever get the assessment on the NHS, and I don't have the money for private. So it is what it is. Like, in my head, I'm neurodivergent, and that manifests it in loads of different ways in different environments. But anyway, back to the question. I was diagnosed on the NHS back in 2019, I think it was. So yeah. And I take the meds. I take Elvance. I take 2 times 40 per day, but I don't always take that. I usually just take 1 in the morning, but I'm prescribed 2 times 40. I was prescribed 3 times 40, which I think is massively over what you should ever be taking, because yeah, I don't know what happened there. Anyway, next question. Do I want more children? Absolutely not. I love my children, but I have been reasonably open online about it. If I knew what I knew now, if I knew what I know now, I don't think I would have become a mum. Now, I'll phrase that like that very deliberately, because it's not about my kids. I love my kids. It's about me and my ability to be a mum. I have found it one of the most difficult things in my entire life, and I get joy out of who they are as people. I wouldn't say I get much joy out of being a mum. I don't think I was massively maternal. I was forced to have an abortion when I was 22, I think. And from that point onwards, it made me desperate to be good enough to have the children of my then partner. And so in hindsight, I've shared very openly, I had a lot of mental health issues over my time. But in hindsight, I wanted babies for validation from my ex-partner, who emotionally abused me for our entire relationship and treated me really poorly. And so that's the really, really wrong reason to have kids. That said, I think I do a bloody amazing job. I think I do a pretty good job with those 2 children. They are happy, healthy. We have a great life together. We're a team. I do not have a good example of what a mother should be. I did not have a very good relationship with my mum for my entire life. As a child, it was very, very difficult. As I was in therapy from a young age, and as an adult, I don't have a relationship with her. So I had nothing to go on as to what a mum should be. And I also think I'm not the only person, there's loads of people out there that haven't had their mum by their side when they became a mum. And I see it online. I see people who have babies and their mum is like their best friend through that process. And I just really wish I had that. And that's probably made it really difficult. I remember genuinely researching how I was supposed to do things. I think I massively overcompensated from feeling like I didn't know what I was doing to like being obsessed with being the best mum that I could be. And it's paid off. Like, they're really happy, great kids, but I have suffered massively. I haven't enjoyed it as much as I could have. I obviously then became a single mum, which wasn't the plan. As kind of sad as it is, I often say to people these days, like, if you're thinking of having kids, think about what it will be like to be doing it on your own, because it happens so often. And I know, like, I was not planning on being a single mum. I had no idea that our relationship would ever break down. I wish it had years before, but I didn't know that at the time. And yeah, like, you go into it with, like, I guess rose-tinted glasses, and no one really tells you how hard it is, but then no one tells you how hard it is when things go wrong. And I think the way the world is and how much it costs to live and how much it costs to bring children up versus how hard it is to earn that much money. And I know it isn't just about money, but when you live in London, it is. You know, when you live in London, it's bloody expensive. Like, if I had a house that I'd inherited in the country and I didn't have to worry too much, then I'd just work at the school as a dinner lady or something and be with my kids. Like, I'd love to do that. I'm actually not... I'm like defending myself too much, but a couple of people recently have said that like, oh, you're very driven by money. I'm not at all. I'm not at all. I'm driven by safety and security. And that is all I want. And the only way I know how to get to that is by making more money. And that is a bit sad. But when you don't have people that you can call your safety and security, and you don't have a backup, you have to back yourself. And we live in a society where that means you have to have money. Anyway, the long and the short of it is, absolutely would I have more children? No. I couldn't risk not being able to afford it. I couldn't risk it physically on my body. I almost, when I had Amber, was really, really bad. I had 3 packets of blood, had a massive hemorrhage. Wouldn't risk that again. Also, you know, my kids both have some level of extra needs. Amber has a genetic condition. That was really stressful. 2 years of chasing doctors to get her diagnosed and get the cancer screening that she needed. She's had cancer screening every 3 months. I just can't do it again on many levels. As you can probably hear, I just don't have it in me to do it again. And I've always been really straightforward about that. Like when I've been dating and stuff, I've always said to people immediately, like, there's absolutely no chance. And I've obviously met guys that things haven't progressed because they really wanted to have kids, and they were like, oh, come on, you're still young, you can have another one. And I was like, it doesn't matter my age, I'm just not going to have another one. I can't do it. So yeah, no more kids for me. And then there's 2 more questions. So the next one is, how is my low buy year going? I sit here with my 2 cushions. I did buy these the other day from the range. They weren't that expensive. I think they were like £8 each or something. But I haven't bought anything really the entire year so far. I have had to order a dress. So when we're in Cannes, I need black tie attire, and where I've lost loads of weight, I haven't got anything that I could have worn. So I have had to order a dress for Cannes, which hopefully will arrive tomorrow. I have bought things for the house that needed to be improved. So like I sorted out the bin, I bought a new water filter, like the filter for the water filter. So I've definitely been spending money, but I've been really mindful. The kids haven't had any new clothes all year because they haven't needed any. Amber now does need a new pair of Crocs because she's just grown out of the old ones, so we've passed them on to a friend. But yeah, been really, really mindful. I got a few bits off TikTok Shop because I got vouchers, and I was like, fair enough, I'll use the vouchers to get a few new bits of clothing. But even that took me a long time because I'm like, don't really want anything. And certainly just want like quality items that I'll wear loads and loads. So yeah, I'm really into it now from a sort of trying to be minimalist and from the perspective of the planet. Like I haven't watched it, but I keep meaning to watch that documentary about like all the clothes just like washing up in I think West Africa on the sea. We just don't need stuff, right? And I've always worked in retail, I've always been into fashion, and I've always been a consumer. And I've also got my dad, who is like anti-consumerism, anti-capitalism, very like cares about the planet, cares about workers' rights, like socialist, lefty. And so I've been brought up with like, why do you need 10 pairs of jeans? And I just never listened to it because I was like, because I want them. I literally just never went deeper than I want to look nice, I want to have nice clothes. And I realised for most of my life that was just all being driven by very low self-esteem. And don't get me wrong, I'm still pretty sure my self-esteem is reasonably close to the gutter, but I do also care more about the planet. Maybe it's because I've got children, I don't know, but like I just see the world differently now, and I really don't need stuff. So I've actually found it pretty easy doing a low buy year. And then I haven't felt guilty for the things that I have got, you know. I obviously didn't need these, but they literally bring me so much joy. I love them in my bedroom. And I won't buy new ones in 6 months' time because I'm not changing up the colour scheme. So yeah, I am feeling very happy and confident on my low buy year, just generally, like from a really holistic way of doing things. The kids are stressing me out a bit. I've been strict with myself of just giving them, they get £5 pocket money each month, and then £5 if they've had a really good month in terms of, week. £5 a week and £5 extra. So they get £10 a week if they've got a good attitude towards homework, going to bed, having baths without a fuss, brushing their teeth really well, doing a few chores around the house. If they do all of that sort of stuff and there's no fuss, no fighting, no sulking, no I want more screen time business, then they get their £10. But they're spending it on crap. And I am struggling. I am struggling with the trips to the sweet shop. So yeah, I would actually like to take this whole journey a step further and start to look at the food that we buy. I would like to get to a point where I've removed all of the ultra processed foods from our diet, because I think if I do that, it will make the kids want crisps and sweets less, because once it's out of your system, you don't crave it. So yeah, I'm really concerned about, not really concerned because they eat well, but I really, really want to change up our diets and start to be more healthy, less crap, less snacks, yeah. So that's that one. And then, do I have any travel plans? So obviously I'm going to Cannes. I haven't been abroad for over a year. The last time we took a trip was Sri Lanka. And I haven't had the money to travel, so we haven't travelled. I really would love to go like anywhere, anytime. Like, I love travelling. And if I do move my debt onto my house, onto my mortgage, I may take the kids somewhere for a week later in the year, but it would need to be really good value. I want to be really careful about money. I'm not going to start just booking trips because I've got that money in my pocket, because I still owe that money, right? And I still want to be debt free, and I want to be mortgage free and all of that stuff. I really want to get that like, I might put the 50k onto my mortgage, but I want to then pay it off within the next 2 years. 2027 I need to remortgage, so I really want to get the mortgage down by then so that I'm not paying high interest on the lot. So don't get me wrong, just because I'm making my minimums less by moving the debt onto my mortgage, there is nothing from me that is an indication that I want to slow down paying it. I still want to get that paid off as quickly as possible. However, I may take the kids away for a week. It might be a weekend, maybe it's like something like Centre Parks if I can get a good deal, I don't know. I have actually just recently become a independent travel agent as a side hustle, as if I didn't have like too much going on already. Haven't set it up properly yet. I'm going to do a launch call when I'm back from Cannes. I'm going to spend a bit of time on this business in Cannes. I did independent travel agency back in 2020. I think that it is a genuinely good opportunity for some people. I understand that you probably would have heard people like really, really promoting it, join my team, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm not that kind of person. I do think that I can make money out of it. I do think I can save money on my travel. So I got the opportunity to rejoin without a fee because I'd paid my fee back in 2020. So I took them up on that offer, and I've already made back my money that I paid for last month to rejoin. So it's net, like, whatever it is. It's net positive, I don't know, I've made back my money. So as long as I can pay, as long as it's cost neutral, that's what it is. As long as it's cost neutral, I will continue to do it. I do think I'm going to be able to get a great deal to take the kids away as a result of being an independent travel agent, because the offers and opportunities that are available to you are genuinely amazing. So yeah, I'm going to launch that later in the month. But yeah, I do have an intention of traveling on a budget a little bit as and when I can, but that's very dependent on what happens with my debt and with my remortgaging and stuff like that. So for the time being, I'm going to Cannes. I paid for my flight and I paid for my airport parking, and I haven't paid for anything else. I will need spending money while I'm out there, but it's a very low cost holiday because he had already paid for the accommodation and I'm just going with him. He also said, because he knows I'm skint, he did say, like, if we go out for a few meals, we go to a few parties, he is picking up the bill for that, which is incredibly kind of him. He obviously absolutely doesn't have to. But yeah, I'm still being really cautious with where I spend my money. And I know that I just don't really have the available funds to do these things. But hopefully, I'm kind of thinking if I can side hustle money out of my travel business, then that can be the money that we travel with. But yeah, we'll see. If anyone does want to know about the travel business, please do let me know, because obviously I can share information with you. This is not a video about that, but I am starting it and excited to be. But yeah, when I get back from Cannes. That is the last question. I hope that that's been interesting to you guys. A little insight into my life. I now have to do some work for my day job because I am obviously going on holiday in a few days, and there's a couple of really big bits of work that I need to get finished before I go. I've got a video to edit because I went out today for a brand to shoot some content, so I need to get that over and get that approved, ready to be able to post that. I'm going to post this video on YouTube. My son is Callum is at his friend's house, Amber is here, they want macaroni and cheese for dinner, so I'm going to start making that. And yeah, I've got a busy evening ahead. I want to get in the loft and get my suitcase down. I want to make a packing list. I did find my passport today, so that's good. But yeah, there's a lot to do before I go to the airport. I've got to leave here about 6 a.m. on Wednesday morning. No, probably 5 a.m. Wednesday morning. And on Tuesday night, I've got a colleague over from the States. So we were all going out for dinner, and I didn't feel like I could not go. I want to go, but like, I just felt like I really had to go, but it is going to be very tight. So I need to pack tomorrow so that when I come back from work on Tuesday night, I don't need to then start thinking about that, because I'm going to be exhausted and I've got to get up so early to get to the airport. So yeah, that is my life. I'll leave all the links below as usual for my other socials, for any tips and tricks, for any things that I'm using at the moment that I'm really obsessed with. Discount codes, you've got your Gusto there if you've never used that before. It's usually 65 or 70% off. My budget spreadsheet, which obviously I haven't shown today, but all the links will be down below. And I will let me know in the comments if you want me to vlog Cannes Film Festival. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. Hope you're all well. Hope you've got sunshine where you are. And I hope this video was okay without being edited. Love you. Bye.